Hi everyone, this is Ekaterina and this week's topic is giving and receiving feedback. I would also like to cover quickly the assignments we had to do in the Unit 4. So for those who are interested in doing a similar study program, just in summary, you will know what to expect from this last module. So certainly when I heard that we had to do a lesson about receiving and giving feedback, I was a bit confused because in my mind, this doesn't really fit well with counseling, However, at the same time, when we had that lesson, it made all sense. Because throughout this year, actually, what happened is that we had multiple pair and small group discussions, as well as bigger discussions with all the students involved. We were sharing our thoughts, our experiences, our feelings, and also, most importantly, we had lots of practical sessions. In fact, in a couple of my previous videos, I shared some insight on how the practical sessions went. So we had 4 lessons fully dedicated to only practicing. So a total of 12 hours. And the students had to split in groups of 3, and we had to play the role of a counselor, client, and observer. And at the end of each of those 20-minute sessions, we had to give each other feedback. So first of all, the student playing the counselor had to make their own feedback with regards to how they felt in the counselor role. Then the client had to also explain how they found this counseling session. And finally, the observer had to share their insights on how did it look from, an outsider's point of view. Did it look like there was a nice kind of welcoming environment, or did it look like something didn't go well? So throughout the year, definitely we had to constantly give each other feedback. And for that reason, it makes sense to learn how to actually give it in the proper way. And I would say the key learnings for me from this lesson was that when giving feedback, we need to provide it in a supportive and constructive way. Because in the end of the day, as we're all students, we obviously are all in the same boat here, and more or less we have the same experiences. It's not our place to tell somebody that they've done something really wrong, because we cannot really tell perhaps also, but at the same time we do need to maybe identify something we've noticed that perhaps that person haven't noticed from their position. So we need to be also specific. It's not just about saying, well, I don't think it went very well. It's about actually maybe recording the specific phrases that have been said, or particular body language that the counselor has displayed towards their client. So it is quite useful when the feedback has those details, and then obviously the students who is learning to become a counselor, they know exactly which areas they could improve. Secondly, when giving feedback, it's always good to give it in so-called sandwich manner. And I do find it quite funny because in UK, they seem to really like this sandwich model. It must be their love for sandwiches. When I went to university, I had a sandwich course, which was 2 years of uni, 1 year of placement, and back to uni. But here, when we talk about feedback, we're referring to giving first positive feedback, then perhaps something more for development, some things that the person could do better, and then back to a positive feedback. So certainly we want to give more positive feedback than negative when we are going through this training experience. And lastly, the person who gives the feedbacks needs to verify with the person receiving the feedback that they understood everything that's been told to them. Because in the end of the day, there's no point in giving the feedback if the person who is listening to you is not actually hearing what you're saying. And obviously there will be no improvement made then if they haven't really understood what you try to explain to them. So certainly if you ever give feedback, make sure that the other person understands what exactly you are referring to. And I would say in my work, I have given feedback before as a part of the annual reviews or project closure stages. However, I was mostly giving it one way. I was never expecting to get maybe a feedback back. And this is where it was different in this particular class, as we definitely had more engagement between the students than in any other college class I've done before. We were constantly discussing things, constantly sharing our thoughts. And I would say this whole experience of also giving feedback to other students while continuously receiving feedback from them was quite insightful, and I think it helped us to build really strong relationship in the group, and it made us feel very close to one another. And certainly I'm very glad that we managed to develop this great bond. Now, you might be surprised that I keep talking about feedback, referring to the students and not the teacher. And I would say, as hard as it is for me to admit, however, in this particular course, I don't think I've received as much feedback from my teacher as I was perhaps expecting. Now, I think partially it's my fault because I perhaps haven't been as proactive in asking that feedback, or I was mostly focusing on getting the feedback for the marked assignments just to make sure that I've written things correctly, and therefore in the end I could get my certificate. However, now, towards the end of this course, I realized that perhaps I should have asked for more feedback on the smaller practical sessions. And this is certainly something that I'll be doing next year. And I have brought it up also to the attention of the tutor in this year class, because I do know that other students also struggled with lack of feedback. So I hope that anyone who will be doing similar course next year, that they will get more feedback from their teacher following, those feedback and comments that I've raised. Again, feedback is not about always telling people that they've done something wrong. It's about indicating areas for improvement so something can change positively. And as promised, I would also like to talk to you about the assignments we had to submit in the Unit 4 of this course, because by far this module was the most assignment heavy. In fact, we had to write 11 assignments, and that's not counting the weekly journals we had to keep and also a journal summary we had to produce for our teacher. So 11 assignments, which is approximately, I would say, 5,500 words. But again, don't be worried. I know initially when you hear that, it can sound very overwhelming, like it's too much. And that's how I felt when I started Unit 4 and I started to count the assignments. However, the good thing is that all the assignments are about you. So you're just writing about yourself. And some of the topics that the assignments are about, so I have here my workbook. It's about assessing your motivation. It's about talking about your values and beliefs, your own action plan, and also where can you get the support you need when you become a counselor, and also how do you think this whole year went through. Have you achieved what you were expecting from this course, or is there something else that you feel you're still lacking? So as I said, the whole unit form is only about you. You're not writing about anything else, and you don't need that much, I would say, references to external sources. You're just trying to self-reflect on how did it go. And that's why in my case, I was able to write my assignments in a matter of a couple of weeks, just dedicated my evenings and wrote 1-2 assignment every single day. So again, there's lots to write, but it's actually quite easy writing. But nonetheless, good to know what to expect if you want to apply for this course and start it maybe, September this year. As always, thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And next week I'll be talking about, well, what happened next with regards to my future studies, and also what sort of plans I have for this summer break and what sort of videos you can expect in the upcoming weeks. But for now, please leave your comments. I'm always interested to hear what you thought about the videos, and if you have any questions, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and take good care of yourself. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.